So a few days ago, I asked you guys to comment some questions on my community tab here on YouTube, and I have lots of your guys' questions, which I want to go through and answer right here. Starting off here from Johnny Boy 2618, who says, do you think they will trade/cut left tackle David Bakhtiari? In my opinion, after the season, my best guess would be they decide to release him. They save around $20 million in cap space. If they decided to keep him and do nothing, he would have a $40 million cap hit in 2024, which I doubt they're going to do. If they were going to, they're either going to release him, in my opinion. The only other option would be to make some kind of extension, and I just don't know if I see that happening with his age, with his injury history. So my best guess is that they release Bakhtiari after this season, in my opinion. Then Johnny says, and why does Joe Barry still have a job, especially with all the talent he has on defense? Still can't stop the run. So I think that's true. The defense can't stop the run. We're 30th in rush yards allowed per game. But the Packers' defense has been very good this season, 9th in points allowed per game. And so while last season to end the year, I was in the boat that Joe Barry should be fired and we should move on to a new defensive coordinator. And now the way this defense has played, I've been asking myself, has Joe Barry redeemed himself? And I think right now he honestly has. For the defense to play as they have this entire season when it comes to allowing points, keeping the Packers in games pretty much almost every single game, the fact that they've done it without Jair Alexander for 7 games, with Rasul Douglas traded away, with Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage missing lots of games at safety, it's been a very stellar performance from this defense led by Joe Barry. And so even though, yes, the rushing defense is a problem, the fact that we're 9th in points allowed I think indicates that the Packers defense has been pretty good this season. The fact that we held the Lions in check on defense, one of the better offenses in the NFL. Then the same with the Chiefs. I think Joe Barry, the way things are happening right now, it wouldn't be surprising if he's back once again because of the way this defense is played. Then we move on here from Fred Sell B-Man 3319. I have no question at the moment, but I do realize that I have to have more faith in this Packers team. I admit I was so wrong. This season isn't a wash. This team has a lot of heart. Go, Pack, go. Yeah, the Packers have definitely, I think, surprised lots of us. The way that we've played the past month or so, the way that this team has rallied and now fully in the playoff hunt, it's exciting to see. And it gives me a lot of optimism, not just for this season, but the years ahead. The fact that these young receivers are growing and playing well. Jordan Love playing as well as he has. The future does look bright here for Green Bay. Then here we have from Bryson K7. What do you think a Jordan Love contract extension is going to look like? He hasn't earned Lamar Jackson type money yet, but he is definitely the guy for the Packers. So I broke this down in like a 4 or 5 minute video yesterday, but my simple answer is the way he's played, and if he plays this way the rest of the season, I wouldn't be shocked if he made between $45 to $50 million per year. I think it would be a 4 or 5 year contract. It can't happen till May because there's an NFL rule that you can't extend a player until a year after he's had a previous extension. And so because Love had that extension last year in May, they'd have to wait till next May. But just the way he's played, the fact that you look at the top 12 quarterbacks, which I broke down yesterday, Daniel Jones got $40 million a year last offseason, which now looks like it was a mistake. But still, I think there's no way Love makes less than $40 million the way he's been playing. If he finishes out as strong and plays well in the playoffs, $45 to $50 million, in my opinion, would make lots of sense because he's playing as one of the, I'd say, better QBs in the NFL right now. Then moving on here, we have, what do you think our final record will be this regular season? I think we're going to finish as 10-7. The rest of our season is a pretty easy schedule. Not to say that those won't be close games because you never know. The NFL, the competition is always pretty close, and so my guess, the way we've been playing, I think that we'll probably lose 1 game. You just never know. It could be more, but I would guess 10-7 right now. Then here we have from Limon2464. What would you think would be a good compensation if/when Packers trade Bakhtiari to the Jets? I'm just not so sure that they will trade Bakhtiari to the Jets. I know this has been a big topic of conversation, at least before the season when Rodgers went to the Jets, and that wouldn't have been shocking to me at the time. But the fact that now Bakhtiari is still continuing to deal with his knee injury, he is missing the rest of the season. He wants to come back and play next year. He said the plan is for him to return to Green Bay. I just don't see the Jets willing to trade for Bakhtiari, who is 32 years old, who has missed tons of games the past few years with knee injuries, and he still has not gotten back healthy after just playing one game early in the season this year. So I just don't see why the Jets would want to trade for Bakhtiari, because even if he comes back and is healthy, there could be complications. So I think it's very risky for the Jets to trade for that kind of contract. And so I just don't see it happening. I just don't see the Jets trading for Bakhtiari, in my opinion, unless he somehow proves to them that he's fully healthy and is not going to have any more issues there. Because obviously Rodgers would love to have him. When Bakhtiari's been healthy, he has played well. And so if you could get Bakhtiari, know for a fact he's going to play the whole season, I think you would make the trade for him. But considering what has happened the past few seasons, I just think it's risky for the Jets, in my opinion. Then here we have from Desert Drinkers Vegas. What position needs to be addressed most when it comes to the 2024 draft? So right now, I would say left tackle. I think Rasheed Walker and Josh Nijman have played pretty good. But I think that when you look at the rest of this team, I think receiver, we're pretty stacked right now, considering Gutekunst invested so much in receiver the past few seasons, invested a lot in tight end this past season. Quarterback is fine. So I think left tackle, to get an elite left tackle could make lots of sense in the draft. Maybe use our first round pick wherever that is, which our draft pick has gotten a lot worse as we've improved, but that's what you want to see. But I would still say right now left tackle. And then I think safety. I think safety could make sense. I think we're lacking some depth there still, and Packers drafting a safety wouldn't be shocking in my opinion. Also, you can never have enough edge rushers. Preston Smith is pretty old. Of course, we drafted Lucas Van Ness last year, but I wouldn't be shocked to see an edge rusher drafted, some defensive linemen to hopefully stop the run. But those are my opinions right now. We'll see if that changes as we get into the offseason and draft talk after the year is over. Here we have from DH-Scenes. Does Malik Heath have a chance to be a very reliable wide receiver 3 or 4 on this team? I would say he's a solid 5. The reason being we have Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, who I think are all ahead of Malik Heath. And so I think that if he had more opportunity, he'd probably perform well. We saw in that Detroit game when there were some injuries at a receiver, he played pretty well. I think he had 4 receptions for 40-something yards. This whole season, he only has 6 receptions for 68 yards, but he hasn't had a ton of snaps. But he has played well when he has gotten the opportunity, especially the past couple weeks, that nasty juke he had last week. So I think all those other guys, as I mentioned, are ahead of him, but I think he's a solid wide receiver 5. Then here we have from FBB Prod. What do you think happened to Samori Toure? He was so successful end of last year and showed a lot of promise. I think the thing with that is that the fact that the Packers have so much talent ahead of him. I don't know if it's necessarily an indictment to his talent, but he's not as talented as Dobbs, Watson, Reed, or Wicks. Just the way that playing time is shaped up. He only has 5 receptions, 62 yards. So he just hasn't had a lot of opportunity. And I think if the Packers hadn't spent so much draft capital on receivers this past draft, odds are he would have had more opportunity, which means he probably would have been more productive. Thing is for him, unfortunate that he's just lower on the totem pole as opposed to those other receivers. Then finally here from JD Young Joker. Can you be a Packers fan but don't live in Wisconsin? Absolutely. I'm a Packers fan who lives in Texas. If you guys have heard the story before, my mom grew up in Wisconsin. She was in Texas when I was born, and then she raised me as a Packers fan. So I'm lucky to not be a Cowboys fan. Would not enjoy that. So definitely you can be a Packers fan if you do not live in Wisconsin. But that is it for this video. If you want more Packers Q&As like this, feel free to let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you want more Packers content, and I'll see you guys next time.